York Rite, which are rites that are literally encamped within the system of Masonry. And they seek, and the Shrine is another one, the Shriners. These organizations are not Masonry. They are, in fact, organizations that predicate on the membership of Masonry. Now, the York Rite is different because the York Rite says that it is Masonry because it has the Royal Arch degree in its system, and there's a lot of reasons why. It recognizes itself as more Masonic, say, than the other orders. But, in fact, the other orders, like the Shrine and the Scottish Rite and the hundreds and hundreds of other orders connected to Masonry, are not Masonry. They just, your membership in those orders are predicated on membership in Masonry first. And yes, they are vying for membership. I mean, as with all organizations right now in America, everyone's hurting. Everyone has low memberships, low dues. People are financially struggling. And as we all know, members, it's all about politics and money. You know, it's the demographics, it's the member money dues and who controls them and who also is the authority. It's also all about recognized authority.
Well, so I got a little bit of insider note that perhaps the Scottish Rite was coming in and sucking all the money from the rest of the lodges. Is this something that you are the reasons why you're against the Scottish Rite?
That it's more than that, but I have personally witnessed underhanded dealings in which Scottish Rite members in lodge systems have finagled through questionable means to take control of different assets of the lodge and to take the helm of organizational administrative control of different charitable endeavors, and using, see, the Scottish Rite is one of those things like it's all about flair. You know, it's impressing you with the 32 degrees. You know, we love large things. You know, why have 3 degrees when you can have 32 degrees? It sounds like you're so much higher up there, right? But inevitably, the Scottish Rite began as a novelty. It was simply a novelty that, when in the 1760s, itinerant or sojourning Masons traveling through America, these were itinerant people that were traveling around, sold patents into the Scottish Rite for cash to live on. They were basically peddling patents to anyone, so a man could travel from town to town in America, go into a Mason's lodge and say, hey, you want to be a 32nd degree Prince of the Royal Secret? And it sounded like a big deal. And then they'd communicate a simple little procedure to you, and boom, give you a patent, you paid your $5, and now you're a 32nd degree. And you're impressing all your friends with the big numbers. But what is it really? It's nothing. There's nothing behind it. It's just it's an illusion. It's a smoke and mirrors. And this is something that went on for so long unchecked, because there's a curious aspects to human behavior. We will do the least, I think. In many cases, people seem to they'll do the least that they can get away with to get something. And if you're going to give them 32 degrees for doing absolutely nothing, they're going to take it. And, you know, meanwhile, they're in an organization that's all cloak and dagger and secret, so nobody can ask anybody questions, because you could say, oh, I'm sorry, that's secret, I can't tell you that, I'd have to initiate you in another order, and just play it off. Well, I've found that when you go further with that, there's nothing behind it. They're just using that to deflect you so they don't have to answer your questions. So, right. You know, I don't know if I made a lot, I kind of jumped around a little, but now moving on to secrecy. And I know that this is a huge issue with many people. And I certainly understand the concerns of secrecy. I mean, secrecy in and of itself seems like a negative virtue, something that shouldn't be, not even a virtue, just a negative aspect of everyday life. Keeping secrets doesn't seem like a good idea. But
no, I actually, you know, I have a guide here. It says A Partner's Guide to Understanding Freemasonry. And this is due to the fact that the men go off to the lodge, they do their little secret rituals in the dark there, and then they come home and they can't tell the wife anything about it.
Yeah.
So secrecy can't really cause a lot of issue.
Yeah, and you know, it's something that has caused so many issues that people have, it's led people to take on innovative strides in order to get around it. Like when I came into Masonry and I asked the brothers, well, what do I tell my wife? Because she's asking me about these secrets that she wants to know, and she can't be a member because she's a woman. Well, they always say, first of all, she can join the, you know, the Eastern Star or the White Shrine or whatever. But then they would literally look at me and they would say, tell her whatever she wants to know. And it was like an unofficial thing that was told to me. Tell her whatever she wants to know, because she should know. And that had a big impact on me, you know, because I found that even my mentors within Masonry felt like there was something out of order about all this. So then I knew that...
Well, we're coming up on the break here, Frater, so when we get back, we're going to pick up on the ideas of secrecy, pros and cons, and just why all these rituals are secret, and the rituals themselves. So much coming. We got a couple hours. Just stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Don Wiskin, and have you ever wondered what the garlic cayenne drops could do for you?
So as I was saying, I was just at the Grand Lodge of Kansas, and of course I find it very intriguing that the Grand Lodge's seal is a couple of, cherubim or angels with cloven feet. Just one of the few things I noticed while there. But the idea of secrecy, we had been given quite a tour by, I guess, someone who's going to become the General Secretary of our region in Freemasonry, someone that Frater X actually knows. He took us all through the lodge and allowed us to film and take pictures. Now, you can visit many lodges, and they are not secret. A lot of them are national heritage buildings that you can go, take a tour, enjoy, and I plan on visiting the one in Philadelphia while I'm there giving the talk at the Free Your Mind conference. While we were at this temple and we stepped downstairs, we found a few curious things. We had picked up some of the ritual tools that were laying there, and one was a large mallet that seemed to be padded and, for bonking someone on the head. And when the lady with us asked about the bopper, as she called it, the Mason suddenly clammed up and was not ready to disclose what this implement was for. Now, this was part of the secrecy, as they both, the two Masons we saw, eyed one another to not answer this question. But secrecy can go to another level as well, as we made it to the basement, the pump room, if you will, of the Grand Lodge there. It turns out that in the floor plans, they do not have this pump room in the diagram, and a Freemasonic conspiracy theorist that had joined the lodge decided to punch a hole through the wall there to see what secrets were inside. Secrecy. This is one heck of a topic, Frater X. Let's see what, I would like to know your reasons behind the secrecy and what you think it's good and bad for.
Okay, well, one more thing to say, about the pursuit of things esoteric. I think that most people, seekers, truth seekers and just seekers who, like myself, I feel like it was sprung out of a deficit in spiritual reality, or just feeling as if you were disconnected, and needing and searching for something that would reawaken that which seemingly has been lost.
Yes.
And having said that, Freemasonry seems tailor-made for this. And it's all about inviting transformative change into consciousness. And one of the things that I learned in my travels is that the structure of consciousness is in fact malleable. It is reformable. And we are capable as thinking beings of inviting transformative change into our consciousness. And it is that which I seek, and I think many like me seek in these esoteric systems. And having said that, secrecy plays a huge role in this. Now, of course, in the early years of lodge systems, secrecy was a matter of sheer survival, because, as we know, during the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, first of all, many hermetic and magical traditions fused with these proto-lodge systems, and they had been forced underground by religious persecution centuries before. And it is that same sort of religious persecution that also found its way into the halls of Freemasonry, and basically any system that has people getting together and exploring ideas outside of the blessings of the church was considered, anathema or otherwise heresy. So that's that's a practical side to secrecy. But we can't ignore also that lodge secrecy provides, if we look through the histories, we find that it provides convenient cover for political and criminal activities. It's something that just goes hand in hand, and a criminal element would find, like the P2 lodges, right, in Europe, where you had the
Italian lodges, right? Spawned the mafia.
Correct. Exactly. And there's a perfect example of a criminal element using Freemasonry as its cover. Some say that the Illuminati did the same thing. There was the story of the man that was struck by lightning outside of a village in Germany, and he was found with papers handwritten supposedly by Adam Weishaupt, which broke down the basic playbook of the Illuminati to infiltrate the fraternal orders that were, numerous throughout the continental Europe at the time, as a means of finding their members and hiding within the ranks of Freemasonry. So there's that. Now, the idea, I think, even for someone, say, that wasn't like me, that wasn't seeking, wasn't voraciously, obsessively reading all this material and looking to all these systems for an answer, even somebody just living their everyday life, the cloak and dagger apparatus of secret systems, like the use of passwords and secret signs and blood-curdling oaths of secrecy, that would make quite a powerful contrast to the unromantic tedium of everyday life, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, so even that alone, could bring in people under that blanket of secrecy. Now, on the fraternal side, many lodges in the past and in the present offer financial benefits and social benefits for membership. And these are benefits that are well worth having to many people. Now, there will always have been and always will be people who want to draw upon benefits without taking the trouble to join or support the organizations that offer them. And traditional security devices formed one of several methods of weeding out such freeloaders in the past. And so systems of secrecy, modes of recognition, would qualify people on entrance that you'd have to learn through secret initiation, and you couldn't do that unless you'd gone through the process. So that's another practical side. Now on the magical side, or the esoteric or occult side, and let's speak about that too for a moment. Today, as always, there is a social stigma attached to all things magical or occult. You can see it in people's faces when you mention magical or occult. Even my children, when I say things about magical, they get, oh yeah, there's a certain knee-jerk reaction to it. When I speak about magic, it can be defined, I think, as the art of causing coincidence in accordance with intentions. And this is something that I think is part of many systems of self-actualization today. You have the Secret, that book that came out a while ago that talked about the law of attraction. This is basically the same concept. Or the What the Bleep Do We Know? There was a movie that too, that same concept. Now, put that aside for a second. Speaking about magic and occult, back in the day, even the rumor of someone being involved in any sort of magical lodge could be enough to wreck that person's career. Nowadays, people, there was that incident with the most recent election cycle, the woman who supposedly was a Wicca during high school and all the fervor that caused. You can see right there is a perfect example of how the social stigma still exists when it's convenient. So anyways, to a very real extent, the traditional secrecy that shrouds lodge rituals can be seen as a way of helping to reinforce the effect of those rituals by preserving the element of